Hello, welcome back to another Pen Talk. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching me explore the wide world of pens. And I do try to vary my exploration, blaze new paths. So Amazon, I think, has continued to expand the fountain pens that you can buy on Amazon, at least Amazon in the United States. So this is a pen that a couple people have talked about. And I ordered it from Amazon and I got it in 2 days. And the price was comparable to what I would pay on eBay, where I'd have to wait for shipping and wait for delivery. So the pen comes out of this inventory bag, and I can just imagine the robot scanning the shelf, finding that barcode, grabbing this package, throwing it in the envelope, and getting it out the door in a very short period of time and not touched by human hands. The pen comes out, and it is definitely blue. It's a really nice color. That's the first impression, and I got that from watching some of the other reviews. And what I didn't know inside here was also the ubiquitous velvet pouch, which when I reread the description of it, I went in there and found it was buried in the bottom of that packet. So this is very similar to the Black Forest pen that I reviewed a while ago. We'll put the link in the description to that review. But I just think it's interesting how Dian now has taken this design, made some changes, and we'll explore that when we look at and compare it to the black one. Came out in many, many colors. Here's some examples of those colors. Here's the listing on Amazon that I used to purchase the pen. At the top is a stamped-in identification. Dian with that logo that they used. It's a nice clip. It's just a folded steel clip. You can see underneath it's not blue. It's very stiff, not very springy, so it's functional, but not exactly the best. And then you can see some more exposed steel there that's not coated blue. So the build quality, at least from the clip viewpoint, is not up to what I would consider to be my standards, but then it's not an expensive pen, and many people may not notice that. It's a pull-off cap, and we'll see a nice, beautiful blue nib, branded with the logo, and that's definitely a bent nib. I'd say that's in the fude style. There's other nibs that are not bent quite as much, and I would consider them, just bent nibs and not the fude style. The pen is not as heavy as you would think from the fact that it's an all-metal pen. Lengthwise, it fits fine in the hand, unposted. That section is really small. It does post. It's designed to post. It snaps to post. It makes for a long pen, but it's light, and it doesn't really change the balance significantly enough for me to say don't post it. And I would post it if I needed to put the cap someplace. So let's explore this a little bit more. I was not able to pull out the nib and feed out of these nib assembly, and I'm not going to push it. Here's an example of a fine nib in black, and I did pull this one out, but I had to distort the feed just a little bit. I think it's still functional. You can buy these as assemblies, and they're pretty easy to get a hold of. Just a standard nice section. The blue is well done throughout the pen. I think it's time to do some comparisons, ink it up, and see how that bent nib works. We have a little bit of diffused sunlight coming in. It's a rainy day, so Good day to do a pen review. We'll bring in our LED and play it over the pen, and it does still look good. Let's explore the cap a little bit more. You can see how that folding is not quite as clean as I would like it to be. Yeah, the stamping is nice at the top. If we look inside the cap, we'll see a slip ring there. That's the first thing that shows up. And that grabs the section. Then at the very top, it looks like they've done some type of a rivet to hold that assembly in place, hold the clip in place. Not certain how well that'll seal up the nib. I don't remember having issues with the original Black Forest version. But it'd been nice to have seen a nice plastic liner in there that could also have snapped against the section and then sealed that nib in well to stop it from drying out. Time will tell. So I'm not a fan of this spring that's put in a lot of converters. It just collects ink, makes it hard to clean out, and I don't find that it facilitates the ink flow within the converter. I like the way this converter is made. It has that insert in it. That opening is bigger than international standard, so it is somewhat proprietary if you want to try to put a cartridge in there, but I'm a converter guy, so I don't mind using a converter. We'll silicone grease the threads, the piston before I reassemble this, and it'll work great for a long time. The other advantage to removing that spring is when you bring the piston all the way down, you're going to pull up less air because you can go further down within this converter. It really works smoothly now. Ready to put in the pen. Yes, there is a definite color difference between the blue and the black versions of this pen, but there's other differences also. But let's just explore some of the more obvious. The finial at the top is completely different between the two pens. This has the logo underneath a clear acrylic dome. This one has a stamped in with 1851 there with the logo in the middle, so they share that logo design in common. I talked about how the under of the clip is not plated on the blue one. It is on the black one, so this is all black material on the clip. The dimensions are exactly the same. This knurling of the barrel is exactly the same. The posting is exactly the same, but the engraving is not the same. So one is the Forest series and the other is the Light of Hope. Not exactly certain of why they made that change. The label on the packet was Forest series, so it gets even more confusing, and some reviewers have referred to it as its model branded on the cap, but I still call it the Forest series. The section is the same, the nibs are the same, so that's the comparison. So what ink to put in it? Well, this ink called out to me before I even ordered the pen. It's one of the glitter inks from Pen BBS. It's number 291, Sea Flame. Really nice blue, kind of an ocean blue with a decent amount of glitter in it. No water resistance. A little bit of glitter left behind there. But a really nice blue. And my eyes see a little bit of green, but not much. So this nib works well as that fude nib works. When you have the pen at a low angle versus a high angle, it lays down a really broad line. If you hold it up higher, it does a much thinner line. Sailor's Zoom nib follows a similar type of thing. Architect's nibs have a similar type of thing where angle determines the width of the line. It lays down a good deal of ink, as you can see. I think it works very well with this ink. I really like the color. But, there's not always a but sometimes there are. This nib has a lot of feedback. More than I expected. More than I had on the black version of this nib. So maybe that blue coating somehow adds friction to that surface. And there's a lot of nib surface on the paper. So many times that may increase the feedback, or sometimes it makes the nib feel smoother because there's more contact. Depends upon the friction on that surface, and this seems to have a fair amount of friction. As you can see, I'm holding it up above the section because that section is just too small for me. Small number 5 nib, you can hold it up here. And yes, there's definitely a noticeable step, but I don't find it to impede holding the pen up here. And there, that diameter is about what I like. So that's how I use the pen. If you're one to hold close to the nib, you better be ready for that small section. We'll give you the dimensions of the section. So how do I rate this pen? I'm going to give it an 8.8. It just gets one check for the beautiful blue look. The nib is not good enough for a check. The build quality is good but not great, so it doesn't get a check for that. Is it a unique pen? From my viewpoint, I think it's a great unique looking pen, but it's not enough to raise its rating to something. Just because you need to love what this pen is and accommodate the fact that it does have a narrow section, and you could get a extra fine or fine nib so you're not stuck with the fude nib if you'd like to try something different. So that is a plus for the pen. The weight is lighter than I expected. And for a small pen like this, with that thin section, that's probably the right amount of weight for this pen. We'll give you the weights. And the black and blue are basically the same weight, so there's no difference there. I've kind of exhausted my thoughts on the pen. I got really excited when this first came in fact, that I got it in a couple days, and it's for the same price as eBay. But then, writing with it just didn't do what I like a pen to do for me. And since you buy pens to write with, you got to put that in perspective. But it does work well as a fude nib. It does lay down a nice amount of ink, and it does work well with this Sea Flame ink from Pen BBS. So we've reached the end of this video. Thank you for watching. You need to find out what pens work for you. You need to find out what you like. And I know if you're a newbie to fountain pens, that may seem like a daunting task, but to me that's part of the fun. The exploring, the trying. In today's environment, you're not going to be going to pen shows. Local pen meetups are now all virtual, so there's not many pen stores around anymore. So the odds of you being able to try a pen before you buy it are not going to be easy. So hopefully that's why a video like this may help you make that determination. And that's one reason why I do them. I also like doing them, so that's the other reason. That's probably the main reason. Enjoy your pens. Enjoy putting ink on paper. Find something that works for you and use it. So it's the end of this video. Hope you're all staying safe, healthy, and happy. And writing. We're going to say bye for now. I do like the nib and the ink for what it can do.